We're talking with Andrew Gumbel, author who has written extensively about Oklahoma City and the connections between investigations of Oklahoma City and what we can learn about Boston. But Andrew, going back to Oklahoma City, and as you and I have talked before, I was intrigued that perhaps investigators missed some help that Timothy McVeigh might have had from white separatist groups, particularly in eastern Oklahoma, across from the Arkansas border. The white separatist groups sent some people to Arkansas to pick up the body of a white supremacist who was being executed in Arkansas the night of April 19th. And again, the same white separatist camp believed to be where Timothy McVeigh spent some time. In your view, did the investigators, in terms of going after Timothy McVeigh, did they miss perhaps some of the help that McVeigh might have had from some of these crazy groups?
The short answer to that is yes, and I think it's important to point out that for years, people like you and me and many others have had a hunch that something went wrong with the investigation. And what was terrific about the research I managed to do for the book is by looking at the documentary record and talking to the people directly involved in the investigation. What I found out is that most of the prosecution team privately thought there were others out there who had not been caught. The trial judge said openly on the bench he thought that the case had not been solved, that there were more things to find out, and he urged the FBI to keep investigating. So in other words, our hunch was correct, that the people who were closest to the investigation felt exactly the same way, and for very similar reasons. There were people inside, the investigation was not a monolith. It was many different agencies fighting each other a lot of the time. And some of the smarter, brighter agents who I spoke to, were stunned that there wasn't a deeper investigation of McVeigh's association with Elohim City, the compound you're talking about on the border between Oklahoma and Arkansas, because a lot of very scary criminals with exactly the same ideological bent had spent time there. There was evidence that McVeigh had been close by, even if there was no absolute smoking gun placing him inside the compound, and on and on. Another lead that was ignored was an Arkansas gun dealer by the name of Roger Moore, who the investigators and the prosecutors decided in the end to use as a witness for the prosecution. Rather disastrously, he did not appear on the stand in the McVeigh trial, and when he appeared on the stand in the Nichols trial, he almost blew up the case for the prosecution. He had long associations with McVeigh. There was a mysterious robbery at his ranch that McVeigh was clearly behind, but I found evidence that the government seriously considered but then discarded, that this was not a robbery at all. It was a setup to allow McVeigh to get a hold of guns, to get a hold of money, and to create a plausible distance between the two of them. Again, that was another lead that just was not followed adequately, and there were many people on the inside of the investigation who were apoplectic that it was not followed adequately.